Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Department of Public Works is excited to announce that the residential yard waste drop-off site is now reopened for the season. The site is located on Bryant Lane. It's accessible 7 days a week as of now. We had originally posted that it would be open during specific hours, but fortunately we haven't really had any major issues with illegal dumping or people doing things there they shouldn't. So as long as that continues, we'll continue to provide that site essentially 24/7, though it is not lit. So obviously we'd advise you not to go out there at night. A reminder that it's for brush and yard waste only. We have a whole complement of other ways for you to recycle or dispose of other items at the recycling center at the DPW yard. This is only for yard waste. Also, commercial waste is strictly prohibited. The site is monitored, and there's a lot more information on our website about how to use the site, what you can and can't get rid of there. The Attorney General's office announced late last week that they had approved Articles 6 and 7 from the fall 2024 town meeting. Those dealt with amendments to the town zoning bylaw relative to sign regulations. Now that they've been approved, our planning department will work to integrate those into the zoning bylaw and get the latest version posted on our website. The Council on Aging last week hosted an appreciation luncheon for the Department of Public Works to thank them for their work over the winter. This annual event is a great way for our seniors to show their appreciation to the DPW and is always a huge hit with our DPW staff. Economic Development Director Benjamin McClure and I met with representatives from Mass Development last week to talk about ways that we can leverage their various grant programs to help jumpstart economic development with a focus on the permitted warehouse projects both on Middlesex Road and Kendall Road. That conversation, similar to the last one, focused a lot on infrastructure capacity, and they have a couple programs that can help private developers who are facing infrastructure issues kind of get a jump start. So we'll be connecting a few people with that, and hopefully that spurs some of that development. The legislature last week voted to send a bill to the governor's desk that would extend the remote and hybrid meeting authorization for municipal boards and committees through June 2027. You're probably wondering, they've extended it 14 times. Why do we keep doing limited ones? That is Massachusetts, my friends. The final step is signature by the governor, which I expect to happen this week with no issues. While most of the meetings that we conduct here in Tyngsborough are happening in person, there are a handful of boards and committees that either meet regularly or occasionally, hybrid or fully remote. It does provide some advantages when there's scheduling conflicts. On a procurement front, we're currently seeking sealed bids for general services and materials for the sewer division of the DPW, as well as on-call emergency services for that same division. Bids for both are generally issued every 3 years, and we enter into 3-year contracts for those services. The existing contracts will expire at the end of this fiscal year. Bid documents for both are available beginning on Wednesday this week, with bids due on April 2nd. Last week, I awarded contracts to various vendors for materials and services for the Highway Division of the Department of Public Works. Those are also 1-year contracts with fixed pricing that each have 2-year extensions at the sole discretion of the town. And then next week, we'll issue a request for proposals for engineering services for the Sewer Division of the Department of Public Works. The RFP will be available beginning on March 31st at tyngsborough.ma.gov, and responses due by April 24th. On a project front, last week we wrapped up a hazardous material collection project at the former Council on Aging building on Lakeview Ave. As you'll remember, that building is slated to be demolished using funding that was approved by town meeting in October of 2023. We'll use the results of that survey to amend our invitation to bid and work to get that project moving as fast as possible. We found some areas that we expected to have more hazardous materials had less, and then some areas where we didn't expect to find any had more. So there are quite a bit of quantities. We'll know for certain by the end of this week what those quantities are, and hopefully we're able to get that project out to bid very soon. An update quickly on the Winslow School project. The Community Preservation Committee met last week to review a request from the Historical Commission to reallocate the remaining $1.28 million from the May 2023 CPC allocation of $1.5 million. The original appropriation was for the demolition of the additions to the building, the restoration of the original schoolhouse, and moving the schoolhouse closer to Winslow Road, tilting it slightly to face the bridge. As you'll remember, shortly after I took over, we paused the project because the estimates from our architectural firm came in higher than what town meeting had appropriated. The request from the Historical Commission is to take the remaining $1.2 million and use it to completely restore the exterior of the entire building. There was a lengthy discussion and there were a lot of concerns, but ultimately the CPC asked me to get quotes from an architectural firm to do a full cost estimate for that type of work before the CPC considers the request. Given the time that's necessary to get a firm on board, it's very unlikely that CPC is able to advance that to the May town meeting, even if they wanted to. We continue to seek applications to fill the vacant assistant town manager role. I'm thrilled that to date, we've received now nearly 20 applications, and the deadline to submit is April 1st. Once the deadline passes, we'll use a standard rubric to determine who gets an interview, and we'll conduct 2 panel-style interviews, both featuring various town department heads, before finally introducing our selected candidate to the select board. Last week, we began interviews to fill the new public safety administrative assistant position, which will support the fire department from an administrative perspective and will assist the police department on a public records request perspective. The funding is currently available in fiscal year 25 because the fire department hadn't spent any of the money they had in place for a part-time admin, and the first full year of the salary is included in my proposed budget, which we will talk to a little bit later. We're also currently recruiting for a full-time police officer, a part-time communications specialist in our emergency 911 center, and a part-time van driver at the Council on Aging. If you're ever interested in a job with the town, you can sign up for alerts. Anytime we post a job, you'll get an email, and you can see the current ones at tyngsboroughma.gov. Couple upcoming reminders. I've mentioned it before, but last chance, the Council on Aging will host their first evening series program this Wednesday night. It's bingo night at 6:30 p.m. at the Center for Active Living. There's more details on the town's website, but certainly you can call the center for more details. April is Townwide Cleanup Month. For the 19th year in a row, residents and local businesses can obtain cleanup kits at the library, the Health Department, and the Department of Public Works. The kits can be used to clean up your neighborhood, a popular walking or recreation area, or your favorite spot to hang out in Tyngsborough. Visit the DPW, the library, or the Health Department to learn more information. The deadline to pull nomination papers to run for office is April 1st, and the papers must be returned by April 15th. Just a reminder that town meeting will take place on Tuesday, May 6th at 7 p.m. Tonight we'll take another pass at the warrant. It's basically finalized. I'll ask this board to approve it at their meeting on April 7th. And of course, 1 week before town meeting at 6 o'clock in this room, we'll host pre-town meeting. Budget office hours, just going to keep reminding folks that we'll have 3 this year, April 7th at 1 p.m. at the Center for Active Living, April 16th at 5 p.m. virtual, and April 23rd at 6:30 at Town Hall. Residents that aren't able to make any of those can, of course, reach out to me. I've had 2 residents so far take advantage of that. Happy to walk through the budget with anybody. The Tyngsborough Public Library Sustainability Committee and Tyngsborough Dunstable Rotary Club will host a Repair Cafe on Saturday, April 26th from 11 to 2 at the Beehive, which is at 2 Bridgeview Circle in Tyngsborough. This is a great opportunity for residents to bring broken items in and get them repaired with the help of volunteers. I think some of those volunteers are sitting up here. The Zero Waste Day will take place on Saturday, May 3rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Tyngsborough Elementary School. To find a list of all of the items that will be accepted, you can visit tyngsboroughma.gov. That's all that I've got tonight, Mr. Chair.
As always, very comprehensive. Thank you. I do hope that we'll have an assistant town manager soon so that we can break up your that's a lot.
I know.
You've been doing your cardio. I'll open it up to the board for questions, comments. Mr. Moran, did you want to start?
Nice work. Thank you.
I have a question on the Winslow School project. So if I understand what the Historical Commission is asking for, they're just asking to take the remaining 1.2 and restore the entire exterior of the building, but we're no longer talking about moving the building?
Correct.
And then has there been any talk about then what to do with the building once the exterior has been restored?
Great question. They presented the same thing they presented to you. That must have been, 3 months ago now? Mm-hmm. They're still hoping to restore the outside and then seek subsequent funding to renovate in 3 stages. The first stage, and I'm just reciting their presentation, the first stage is renovating the southernmost part of the building, which I think is 2 classrooms up top and some basement space. Then they would do the middle of the building, and then when funding was available, do the other end. They've thrown around putting the media department over there. They've talked about renting out space. They've talked about community space. I don't have more information than what they've previously presented, but this request specifically was just to get the entire building restored on the outside.
Thank you. No other questions, Mr. Chair.
Select Person Gilfus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Several items, if I may. The item about virtual meetings, virtual hybrid meetings. Am I remembering correctly that someone reached out to us asking us to send an endorsement of this to the governor?
Yes, so the ability to meet remote or via hybrid is also a piece of the Municipal Empowerment Act, which is certainly a bill that you would have received emails asking you to support. That was a much broader bill. That focused, it included this, but it also focused on putting more power in municipalities to levy or increase their own taxes. It talked about expanding the excise tax as a local option. That has died twice now in the legislature. I expect it'll be refiled this session. What did pass was strictly related to remote meetings, and again, they only authorized it through June of 2027.
So is there action that we could take to encourage that along at all?
The extension of remote meetings only? No, it is largely expected the governor will sign it.
Great. Just want to make sure we're doing our part if we can. Oh goodness, I didn't jot down my notes. I am disappointed to see that the bingo night at the Center for Active Living is for people over the age of 60. I looked at the website after you just said that, and I am not invited, so I will not be in attendance. But maybe other people at this table could go.
Don't look at me.
We've been talking about the active lives of the select board members. And
That slide.
and the Winslow update, I know that there's something in the annual report about what they would like to see happen, like what they are putting forth as their proposal, the Historical Commission. So I presume that this 1.2 million is advancing their goal that they have reported.
I think yes, but it doesn't go toward anything on the inside. I think that the way it was presented to CPC was this was the first step to actually seal up the building and kind of secure future investment in the building. How soon after that work is done would they go back to CPC for any additional funding? I can't say. But I'm sure it's all part of that bigger plan.
And in the interim, they want you to figure out the cost estimate.
Yeah, CPC basically said, listen, we keep doing these project requests based on, well, I've got a friend that said it would be this. Obviously, the 1.5 million was not nearly enough to do what town meeting wanted. So CPC's perspective was, forget the merits for a minute. We don't have firm costs. We don't know. I think the Historical Commission assumes that it's as simple as re-siding the building, putting the windows back in. What hasn't happened, and we did to some degree with the original proposal because we were focusing just on the schoolhouse, but we've done some roof work in the past, but is the roof really up to par? I think CPC wants to know that any funding request and matching estimate really would get them what they're saying, and so that in 6 months we're not back at the same point where now town meeting has tied up $1.28 million again for something that isn't truly feasible.
Is there a cost associated with getting that quote?
Yeah, CPC, yes, there is. And CPC has expressed a willingness to use their administrative expenses. Every year we can allocate a certain percent. We've done 50,000 normally. It wouldn't be 50,000. I think you'd be talking probably in the 15, maybe $20,000 range. But yes, that would be an expense that they'd have to approve. Their administrative expenses don't go to town meeting, that they can authorize. So let's say in 3 weeks I have prices, I can go to a CPC meeting, they can independently vote to authorize me to spend, say, up to 15,000 of administrative expenses. The timeline means that even if then we complete the work and they're favorable to it, it is certainly unlikely that it would be available for the May town meeting.
Especially because we need to approve the warrant sooner.
Absolutely, April 7th, yep.
Okay, I think that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to talking about the warrant.
I'm with you. Yeah, thank you, Colin. Lots of stuff happening.